existing competitor system to Barcom can qualify for a free doorbell camera. So now you can keep an eye on those pesky porch bandits. To see if you qualify for the free doorbell camera, contact the local Barcom security office or go to barcomsecurity.com and have a secure day.
3120 Montvale Drive, Springfield.
Where do you go when you want to get in shape?
The Body Quest Store, the Body Quest Store.
High quality exercise equipment for your home.
The Body Quest Store, the Body Quest Store.
The quest for the healthier you begins at
The Body Quest Store, the Body Quest Store.
3120 Montvale Drive.
The Body Quest Store, the Body Quest Store.
787-9930.
The Body Quest Store, the Body Quest Store.
The quest for the healthier you begins at the Body Quest Store. 3120 Montvale Drive, Springfield.
Hi, this is Shane Luttrell with Luttrell Jewelers. The 16th annual Big Holiday Sale is going on right now. Did you hear that magic word, sale? Up to 30% off everything at Luttrell Jewelers. Open 6 days a week until Christmas.
92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.
Happy Thursday as we rapidly approach the holiday and all of the festivities that are going to be impacted by severe weather. What exactly is that weather looking like? Well, good morning. Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. Now 6:11, 34 degrees out there, but expect the temperature to drop down to single digits throughout the day, as we could see some snow with a mix of freezing rain turning into blowing snow as the temperature plummets, 2 to 4 inches possible. And tonight, possible of more snow with lows down to -7. The wind chills at times going to feel like -34. With even severe wind chills later on this afternoon. So the afternoon commute, it looks like it's going to be dicey if indeed this forecast sticks with us. But it's not just the snow and the plummeting temperatures. It's also the high winds, where you could possibly see 50-mile-an-hour winds. That's what the National Weather Service says. Snow expected with total accumulation 2 to 4 inches, with wind gusts as high as 50 miles an hour. And that's going to lead to a whole host of things that could be happening here, including, the possible power outages when you've got strong winds like that and some precipitation that then drastically freezes. Something to be mindful of. Also, if you do have to go out, and keep in mind, emergency response crews are going to be out, especially those snow plows and the ice trucks. Keep distance from them. But if you have to go out, make sure that you have extra flashlight. Make sure you're wearing layers. Get some gloves. Get some hats. Put a few protein bars in your kit so that you go with food with you and extra water as well, because if you have to be out in that and you get into an accident, it could take some time for first responders to get to you. So we'll be reminding you of that all throughout. Right now, though, it's very still, very mild. Again, we have about 34 degrees, and the temperature is going to plummet throughout the day. And in programming note, not sure if I'm going to be able to make it in tomorrow. I've actually loaded up a bunch of best of segments from the past few months that we have ready just in case I wake up in the morning and I look at the roads and I can't see them. That's going to be a problem, even though I have a 4x4. I live South Sangamon County, so taking that stretch up a prairie highway with the high winds, you could see drifts covering all kinds of stuff and not necessarily being able to see the road with possibly 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So just a programming note, we may be in best of mode tomorrow, heading into the Christmas holiday, which is Sunday. And if you look further into the forecast, this is pretty wild, just how drastically we're expected to see the temperature plummet today. It'll stick around for a couple of days, but then come Christmas Day, highs around 14. And then for Monday, you're looking at a high of around 23. And then by Wednesday, the high back up to 40 with partly sunny skies. Fun times. But it's also been a pretty wild year. A lot of things happening. You've got, of course, the elections that took place in November, but a whole host of other things, and we're actually going to be unpacking a lot more of a year in review throughout between Christmas and New Year's. I'll have at least a day or so to go through even more. But one of the biggest stories of the year is the indictment of former House Speaker Michael Madigan. And it's one of those stories that just didn't stop giving, especially since the summer of 2020, where you've got the revelation. Federal prosecutors showed that there was, of course, something that a lot of people had suspected, right? Years of questions about how longtime former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan and his political operation conducted themselves. A lot of speculation for years. A lot of allegations, just people saying that Madigan's corrupt. But the longest-serving House Speaker, who was Speaker of the House practically longer than I was alive, he's facing 23 charges, and it all came to a head this year as the former House Speaker faces those charges. So again, in the summer of 2020, it was revealed that Madigan, former longest-serving House Speaker in the U.S., was public official A in a deferred prosecution agreement with utility ComEd. Now, federal prosecutors, they said that ComEd worked with the speaker for nearly a decade to curry favor from legislation that benefits the utility, and the utility actually had to agree back in 2020 to a $200 million penalty for its role. Now, in March of this year, nearly 2 years after the scheme was unveiled, U.S. Attorney John Lausch, he made the announcement that Madigan does indeed face those charges. He faced 22 charges of federal corruption, bribery, and so on.
The indictment alleges a long-term, multifaceted scheme to use public positions for unlawful gain, including no-show or low-show jobs for Madigan's political workers and private gain for Madigan himself.
So that was way back in March, where federal prosecutors called the scheme Madigan Enterprise. And Madigan's confidant, Michael McLean, also facing similar charges. There were several people within ComEd's universe that were charged. They've pleaded not guilty. One of them, though, Fidel Marquez, pleaded guilty and was cooperating with federal prosecutors. So all of this, coming to a head in March, 22 initial counts in the ComEd case handed down. Governor J.B. Pritzker back then, he did say that, hey, if you're doing corrupt things, you got to go.
Whoever it is, in whatever level of office in the state of Illinois, if you're committing acts of corruption, you've got to go.
So separately, you had Madigan later in the year, just a few months ago. He was charged with yet another count of federal corruption charges. And this dealt with AT&T Illinois. At the same time, you had AT&T Illinois' former president charged in a scheme to curry favor for Madigan Associates to get low to no work jobs with good pay. In favor of possible legislation favoring the utilities. But this is just a highlight of the corruption problems that Illinois has had to contend with federal agencies doing most of the heavy lifting. And it seemed to all kind of start with a Chinatown developer in Chicago that ultimately led to this entire investigation and looking into corruption that even touched Madigan, getting him recorded at one point. And I'll have to find that audio of Madigan when I asked him what it's like to be recorded without his knowledge. What did he say? It's a cruel world, I think he said to me years ago when I asked him about that. But the Chinatown developer getting a 16-month sentence. This coming from the Chicago Tribune. The name Daniel Solis never came up in court Friday during a fraud sentencing of Chinatown developer C. Wong, nor did the names Edward Burke or Michael Madigan for that matter. But it was Wong's cooperation with federal authorities, including wearing a wire on Solis, then the powerful head of the city's zoning committee, that helped ensnarl all three politicians in what has become one of the biggest public corruption cases ever brought in Chicago's federal court. So fascinating to see that as one of the top stories of the year, being Madigan getting 22 tack on another one, 23 corruption charges. And separate from all of that, another lawmaker was charged with corruption just a couple of months ago, Chicago Democratic State Senator Emil Jones III. And this dealt with red light camera companies. And Jones pleading not guilty. He, despite being charged with a corruption charge, ended up getting reelected in an uncontested election last month. So that seems to be what happens in Illinois. We'll, of course, watch what happens with Madigan's case, because that is going to come to trial at some point next month, or next year, rather. Next month, he does have a status hearing, so we'll be watching that closely. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Let's take a look at that forecast, where we've got some serious problems ahead for those of you driving. We're looking at a chance of some rain turning to snow, turning to blowing snow, with the temperature dropping down to 1 degrees. The wind chill could be down to minus 23. It's going to be blustery with 2 to 4 inches of snow possible. And then snow likely overnight with an additional half an inch of snow. And then flurries Friday morning. You're going to see that before noon, with the temperature only around 1 and wind gusts up to 43 miles an hour. Saturday, blowing snow, the high of 11, but Saturday night for Christmas Eve, the low of 0, mostly clear. We are going to have a white Christmas if this forecast holds, with a high of 14 on Christmas Day. Monday, partly sunny with a high of 23. Right now it's 34 degrees, but that temperature is going to continue to drop at 621 from Culver's West on Wabash.
It's time to apply at Culver's West on Wabash. We're hiring all positions, and did we mention free food? Only at Culver's West on Wabash.
Well, you know, Christmas is only a couple of weeks away, and the big old GOB sale at A.B. Lauer Jewelers is going crazy. Lots of great jewelry on sale at crazy prices, up to 80% off. Nothing's being held back. We're now open Mondays 11 to 6, so our hours are 11 to 6 Monday through Saturday. Don't wait any longer. We'll be closed forever after the holidays. A.B. Lauer Jewelers in the beautiful Montvale Junction Shopping Center on West Isles.
If you're in need of care, that's all you should be concerned about, not the hassles of out-of-pocket cost or whether your doctor is in network. We've heard you. Springfield Clinic Advantage, an employer health plan designed locally with a real understanding of the healthcare needs of the patients in our community. A plan that guarantees you'll never be out of network with your Springfield Clinic doctors again. Your doctors, your health plan, your advantage. Visit springfieldclinic.com/advantage.
Santa is bringing good sleep. An all-new Bemco Arctic Breeze, Max Life, or Chatham & Wells mattress from Just Beds can improve your sleep and help you cope with the stress of the season. This month, twin Bemco mattresses $149. Queen mattresses just $229. Save up to $300 with the all-new Bemco Arctic Breeze. As always, free delivery, setup, and haul away. Merry Christmas from the guys at Just Beds. Want less holiday stress? See the Yawn Exterminators at Just Beds on Montvale in Springfield.
Just Beds. Rex with a double X battery, generations of power.
Here's what we believe at Rex Battery. You should be able to find the right battery when you need it. Our company started when my dad needed a battery for his car, and he built it himself. Today, more than 50 years later, we are still making sure you can find the right battery you need. And that includes the common batteries people use every day to the hard-to-find batteries used in big farm equipment. While online outlets are struggling with supply chain issues, we have shelves full of batteries. The best part is we're right here in town and ready to help today. Hearing aids, power tools, and the car in your garage. If it takes a battery, you can find the battery at Rex Battery, Clear Lake, just west of Dirksen.
Rex with a double X battery, generations of power.
What's the best thing to do with your money during uncertain times? Financial experts agree products like certificates of deposit and money market accounts can be a safe haven from a bumpy economy. At Warren Boynton State Bank, we've been helping people find ways for their money to make money for 145 years. Certificates of deposit, or CDs, give you a guaranteed return on your money. Money market accounts are a way to let your money earn higher interest with the flexibility of a checking account. These are just two options we have at Warren Boynton, each designed to give your money security, and they just might help you sleep better at night. At Warren Boynton, you can say we've seen a few things over the years. A lot has happened since we opened our doors in 1877, but no matter what was going on in the rest of the world, we've stood by folks in Central Illinois. A little extra confidence during challenging economic times. Warren Boynton State Bank, WBSB.net, member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Warren Boynton, your bank.
John, the price of groceries is enough to send somebody into a panic mode these days.
Yeah, especially when the refrigerator goes kaput.
Even more so. We got a call from a customer who had that problem with a freezer load of those expensive groceries.
And that'll keep you awake at night just thinking about it.
Right. So, because Dick Van Dyke stocks the 100 most used parts, we were able to send a factory-trained tech out to her place to fix the problem before she lost any of that food.
And he wasn't some subcontractor either.
Trained right here locally by the team of Dick Van Dyke.
You know, one way to fight inflation?
Yep.
Keep from having to buy expensive stuff twice.
Yes, you got that right.
This is Dennis Regan, chairman of Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store, which means you have the comfort of knowing that if anything goes wrong, we'll make it right. Wow!
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and God bless you all.
Merry Christmas to everybody and happy holidays.
From everyone at Springfield Supportive Living.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Now, where's the eggnog?
Springfield Supportive Living. Are you young enough?
The WMAY Daily Poll is sponsored by Adams Pest Control for commercial, residential, real estate inspections, and termite control. Cast your vote with the WMAY mobile app or at WMAY.com/poll.
And today's poll question is the bad weather altering your holiday travel plans? Yes, I've had to reschedule everything, or no, I've got to go where I've got to be regardless of the weather. So, about 70% of you say, no, you're not really changing your travel plans with this severe weather heading our way. Go take the poll at WMAY.com/poll or on the WMAY mobile app. It's brought to you by Adams Pest Control.
Springfield's Morning News with Greg Bishop. Weekdays 6 till 9 on 92.7 WMAY.
So Governor J.B. Pritzker's pen was busy yesterday signing all kinds of legislation into law. And some of the things that he signed includes tax incentives for electric vehicle manufacturers, but also free underwear and menstrual products, feminine hygiene products for those who are incarcerated. What's the actual language they say? All committed persons. That's what it is. All committed persons at no cost. Now, the taxpayer, of course, is paying for that, but this is actually, one of several bills. State Senator Cecilia Villanueva, she talked about this when she got it passed out of the Illinois Senate, and she said that it's important that they do this.
To address the lack of hygiene products available for those in the Department of Corrections care who lack the financial means to purchase these basic necessities.
Now, the state currently provides IDOC with these products, but the bill does change some of the language.
House Bill 4218 just codifies it and includes everyone access to these products.
Now, some asked if it's already policy, why do we have to codify this? And Villanueva responds.
Because departments in the state of Illinois tend to change depending on the leadership, we just want to make sure that this practice is in statute and protects the basic dignity of people who menstruate.
So that measure was passed, and still haven't got a estimated cost of what this is for the Illinois Department of Corrections. Last they told me was they've been doing this already, so there's no additional cost, but I was curious what the total cost is to taxpayers. Another measure that the governor signed yesterday deals with the Illinois REV Act, and the governor signing the Reimagining Electric Vehicles in Illinois Act with some amendments, and the state's REV Rev Act, what it does is the amendments really looks to provide tax credits for those Illinois car manufacturers that retain employees as they switch to electric vehicle production. And that tax credit's increased to 75%, goes to 100% of their state income tax if the company operates in underserved or energy transition areas. And the Illinois Manufacturers Association celebrating this, saying that states are competing with each other on a daily basis to attract new manufacturers and battery manufacturers, so it's best to put Illinois in its best foot forward. The governor saying in a statement, it's no wonder that companies like Lion Electric, TCCI, and Rivian have expanded their footprints throughout the state, and they look forward to more EV businesses in the coming years. Now, the governor has that goal of a million electric vehicles on Illinois roads by 2023. So that's obviously something that we'll watch as it develops. You've got the Belvedere plant, that Jeep plant that was going to close from Stellantis, and they're looking at the costs of EV transition and what happens there. So maybe this bill will help foster some development there. We shall watch and see. But another bill that the governor signed yesterday, House Bill 1293, and what it does is it divests from the country of Russia or any Russian investments that there may be. This actually passed way back in the spring of this year after Russia invaded Ukraine. It passed the House. It did not advance out of the Senate before they adjourned for spring session in early April. But the Senate came back, took up their own version, amending the House bill, and then pushing it back over to the House, where you have State Representative Lindsay LaPointe talking about the measure, and she said that it's a reaction to the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Here's LaPointe.
The bill creates a money laundering and real estate task force that's charged with assessing the exposure of residential and industrial and commercial real estate sectors.
And it goes even further as well to say that the state needs to take action against such aggression.
We've all been watching this from afar. Some of us have been more up close to refugees from Russia in our communities, but all of us have been heartbroken by what we are seeing.
So the governor signing that bill into law yesterday as well. That's just some of the legislation that the governor signed, and of course that last one being the Russia divestment legislation. But we've got a whole host of things to talk about when it comes to Russia and Ukraine and defending borders. Are we going to defend the Russia-Ukraine border? Are we going to defend the border in Egypt with your tax dollars? What about the southern border? Are we going to focus any of our tax dollars on that situation, which I think a lot of people can recognize is at a crisis point? So we'll talk about those things next here with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. It's now 6:23. Let's get an update from the newsroom.
92.7 WMAY.
Here are the three big things you need to know.
I'm Don Howard. Our top story. A report published by a congressional panel finds that the IRS failed to perform the mandatory inspection of Donald Trump's returns as president until Congress pressed for information about the process. A report by the Democratic majority on the House Ways and Means Committee says the policy dating to 1977 was ignored during the early years of the Trump administration. Democrats in Congress are responding by introducing legislation that would codify the IRS policy into law with more stringent requirements. The National Weather Service has issued a winter storm warning for the Springfield area from 6 a.m. today through 6 a.m. Saturday. Forecasters predict 2 to 4 inches of snow today with temperatures below zero, wind chills around 30 below, blowing and drifting snow, and poor visibility. These conditions could persist across central Illinois into Christmas Eve on Saturday. Stay with 92.7 WMAY for updates on the developing winter storm. Christmas has come a bit early in Taylorville, where residents are celebrating the reopening of the city's main grocery store after a nearly 5-month shutdown. The Taylorville Kroger was closed by the state in late July over concerns that material containing asbestos was mishandled during a store remodeling project. After months of cleanup, the store reopened Wednesday morning with dozens of shoppers waiting to get in when the doors opened at 6 a.m. Kroger executives presented the Taylorville Food Pantry with $5,000 in gift cards. Springfield aldermen have approved a redevelopment agreement with the company behind a planned residential and retail project near downtown, despite frustration that they received details of the agreement less than an hour before Tuesday night's city council meeting. Some aldermen wanted to wait for 2 weeks to allow more time to review the paperwork for the Lofts on Madison project, but Adirondack Community Development pushed for immediate action, saying that any delays raise the risk of interest rate increases and higher costs for the project. Mayor Jim Langfelter noted that city council will have more opportunities to insist on changes, including the creation of a targeted TIF district. During testimony this week in the General Assembly, several groups who want assault-style firearms in the hands of private individuals vowed to sue if Illinois lawmakers pass a ban on the sale of assault weapons in large-capacity magazines. NRA lobbyist Todd Vandermeide questioned how the state would be able to enforce provisions that would require current owners of assault-style weapons to register those firearms. The General Assembly plans to take up the proposed ban during the lame duck session in early January. Demolition is expected to take place over the next 2 weeks on 2 warehouses at the former Pillsbury Mills site in Springfield. The warehouses represent roughly 10% of the building space on the site. The group Moving Pillsbury Forward says the work will cost about $100,000, and the group will recover some of that cost by recycling materials used to build the warehouses in 1929. The group says it's still working on financing to tear down the remaining structures on the site and hopes to complete the task in 3 years. Your dependable 5-day forecast is next on WMAY.
News sponsored by Just Beds. A great night's sleep starts with a visit to the yawn exterminators at Just Beds. Online at justbedsinc.com.
How would you like to work for the area's premier multimedia marketing and advertising company right here in Springfield? Well, here's your opportunity. At Midwest Family, we're looking for talented and dynamic account executives who thrive in a fast-paced working environment. Those who are passionate, self-motivated, goal-oriented, and highly competitive. Are you a problem solver with great communication skills? Do you have a grasp on today's digital media? And do you have the ability to cultivate lasting relationships and partnerships? If this sounds like this is for you, apply online today at MidwestFamilySPI.com and click on our careers tab. At Midwest Family Springfield, we offer unique sales career opportunities where you're given a challenging mission, world-class tools like HubSpot CRM, ongoing training, and the chance to realize your full potential as a marketing and advertising sales professional. This is Rob Zavitka, Director of Sales and Business Development Manager at Midwest Family Springfield. Are you my next candidate? If so, please apply online today at MidwestFamilySPI.com and click on the Careers tab. Midwest Family is an equal opportunity employer.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and God bless you all.
Merry Christmas to everybody and happy holidays.
From everyone at Springfield Supportive Living.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Now, where's the eggnog?
Springfield Supportive Living. Are you young enough?
Sale? Sale? I say up to 80% off is a sale. Now at A.B. Lauer Jewelers on West Isles, just off Chatham Road.
At A.B. Lauer, we can make diamonds a part of your life.
Hey, this is Brian. Christmas is almost here, and I'm getting nervous. I still have a lot of jewelry to clear out, so we're now up to 80% off. It's gotta go.
At A.B. Lauer, we can make diamonds a part of your life.
Your dependable 5-day forecast on WMAY. Blowing snow throughout the day today with blizzard conditions after noon. Temperatures falling to 0 by 5 p.m. and wind chills in the 20s below 0. Tonight, continued windy, low around -7. Tomorrow, a chance of flurries. Continued windy and cold with temperatures around 0 all day and through the night. Saturday, light snow possible in the morning, then mostly sunny and windy with a high near 11. Christmas Day, sunny with a high near 15. And Monday, partly sunny with a high near 23. I'm Don Howard, 92.7 WMAY.
There are 3 words I always hear when someone from our staff is on the phone. We got it. Hi, it's Laurie from Rex Battery, and whenever somebody calls us and asks if we have a certain type of battery, the answer is always, we got it. Even in those very rare instances we don't, we know how to get it. And if we don't know how to get it, we'll build it. That's how committed we are to making sure you have the power you need. From model cars to real cars, from toys to tractors, dog collars to doorbells, riding mowers to remote keys. If it takes a battery, we have it at Rex Battery. Over 75,000 batteries in stock right now. So if you're wondering if we've got a battery, yep, we've got it. They're fresh, fully charged, and ready to go. keeping Central Illinois fully powered for over 60 years. Rex Battery, Clear Lake, west of Dirksen.
X with a double X battery. Generations of power.
It's another festive holiday season in downtown Springfield. This year, Old Capitol Holiday Walks, presented by IMB and Community Foundation for the Land of Lincoln, merges with the Memorial Holiday Fest to bring you a slew of magical downtown events. Enjoy free Midwest sleigh rides, children's activities, holiday displays, visits with Santa, food, drinks, shopping, free entertainment, and so much more. For the full schedule of events, go to downtownspringfield.org.
Shop the largest selection of Amish and American-made furniture all in one location at Hendricks Home Furnishings. From living room upholstery and accent tables to bedroom, dining room, and home office furniture. Select your sizes, wood finishes, colors, leathers, and fabrics of your choice. At Hendricks, the options are endless for style and comfort that will last a lifetime. Come shop Amish and American-made furniture on sale now. Hendricks Home Furnishings in Verdon and online at hendricks.tv, where you can always talk to the owners.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
I'm Peter Greenberg, and this is today's Ion Travel Minute. If you plan to fly alone with your kids on an upcoming trip, it's important for you to bring not just your government-issued ID, after all, everybody should do that, but documents proving your relationship with your kids. And while you're not legally required to do so, you could easily be detained by authorities at domestic airports or at passport control areas in foreign airports as authorities try to intercept people who they think might be child traffickers. So what documents do you need to bring? First, a written, notarized consent form from one parent giving you permission as the other parent to fly with your kids. Also, bring copies of their birth certificates as well. For more information, visit petergreenberg.com. I'm Peter Greenberg, and this is today's Ion Travel Minute.
Give the gift that's hard to wrap but easy to give. The Steel Holiday Gift Guide has outdoor power tools and more for everyone on your list. Visit your local Steel dealer or go online to steelusa.com/gift guide. Real Steel. Find yours.
92.7 WMAY, Springfield's news and talk.
Let's talk about your tax dollars from the federal government and how those could possibly be spent, and border security for this country and others. Good morning. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's news and talk. And we just, last segment, talked about how the governor signed a bill to divest from Russian assets and have no public dollars in Illinois invested in anything that has to do with Russia. And that takes effect immediately. But what about your tax dollars from the federal government, and how are those being spent? We'll hear a little bit of what Volodymyr Zelensky had to say, the president of Ukraine, when he visited and spoke in front of Congress. So we'll get to that before the top of the hour here. But Congress is dealing with a lot right now. They've got a temporary spending plan that's set to expire, and the prospects of dealing with yet another spending plan that's coming out here soon. And actually, here's a little bit of video that was earlier this week, I think yesterday, and or maybe the day before. Rand Paul literally wheeling out a huge stack of bills. And that's the spending plan that they're looking to possibly pass. The omnibus $1.7 billion. Let me correct that. $1.7 trillion with a T, trillion dollars. And some Republicans are calling it toxic with a T. But this $1.7 trillion, it's got all kinds of spending in it, and it's for the entire year. I heard already some criticism that it seems to be looking to spend on the FBI, when the FBI has yet to come in front of Congress and explain what they're doing when it comes to censorship, not just on Twitter, but YouTube or Facebook and elsewhere. So money going there, money going here, money going to study that type of fish, money going to this country and that country, and a whole host host of other things. But what's fascinating here is how this spending bill could get gummed up in the final days here before they have to pass it before a temporary spending plan expires out of Washington, D.C. How are they going to address the border crisis here in this country? This obviously is dealing with Title 42. And that's the Trump-era policy that allows for the migrants coming across the border to be turned around at the border instead of being allowed in and released because of health concerns. So yesterday, some U.S. senators, they held a news conference talking about the border crisis, talking about the problems that they're seeing, and everybody sees it. And even the corporate media has to acknowledge that there's some serious problems. Here's a report from MSNBC recently highlighting just how serious these problems are at the southern border, and it's pretty telling, especially when you see some of the images that they shared in their reports, again, from MSNBC.
Really what we're seeing here is a city that is overwhelmed and in chaos. These families behind me here, these are some of the lucky ones. We're inside a shelter, but a lot of shelters are overwhelmed. I just came from the streets this morning. There are hundreds of people sleeping in the airports, at bus stations, on the streets, and it's actually really cold here. It was 33 degrees when we woke up this morning. Migrants were huddling together under blankets for warmth because even though Title 42 hasn't lifted yet, so many people have been able to come across. Not every nationality gets expelled, but we just spoke to people at this shelter here. Ruben Garcia, who runs this shelter, who says, look, already there are people sleeping on the streets. The numbers that will be sleeping on the streets if Title 42 lifts is unfathomable, and he says the federal government will have to do more.
So what is the federal government going to do about all of this? And of course, you can chime in live and local here anytime at 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hey, good morning, Greg. Hey, don't forget to mention on the Omni bill the $14 million Michelle Obama hiking trail, who's never served office.
Wow. Yeah, those are just some of the types of things that is all packed into here. But how much is going to go to border security, especially with what we're seeing on the border, with shelters being just inundated, even airports, people posting up there, sleeping on the floor. It's a big problem. Marsha Blackburn, she took to a podium yesterday. She's a Kentucky U.S. senator, and she shared her major concerns with the spending that's not necessarily included in this spending bill. Here she is laying out her concerns.
We are doing everything we can to make certain that Title 42 stays in place. It is needed. Our Border Patrol need to know that members of the U.S. Senate are going to stand with them to make certain that they have what they need to, first of all, secure that border, and then secondly, to be sure that we mitigate the issues that are being caused at that southern border. And it is unseemly that we have a spending bill that would have money for other nations to secure their border. But then the money in the spending bill that is there for Border Patrol says they cannot use it on border security.
So that's a pretty, distilled concern that some Republicans have is this spending plan does give money to other countries to protect their borders, but not for the U.S. border. So there's actually an effort right now to try to get the White House to keep Title 42 in place in order to have some level of control over the southern border. But what's fascinating, too, is how much money's in there for Ukraine. And we're talking $40+ billion, brings it now to more than $100 billion that the U.S. has given Ukraine. We'll get to a lot of that, especially with Vladimir Zelensky, not in a suit and tie, but in a sweatshirt, speaking to Congress and meeting with the president. So we'll get to that coming up next. Call here. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning, Greg. I've been to the border. I was one of the original Minutemen in 2005, returned 3 times. So since 2005 and before that, we've had an open border. So, it's not to point, I would love to point the fingers at the Democrats, but I have to be honest. It's been a political football. No, this is a national security issue, and neither the Democrats or the Republicans have done well. Trump came in and did something, started the border wall, but it has been that way. So I blame both sides.
Yeah, it seems to be more of an issue of the establishment not wanting to necessarily cave in on this at all from both sides, because it's, like you said, a political hot potato that just gets passed around. And then you've got even, the Chamber of Commerce to a degree saying that they favor some kind of immigration to allow for, workers, lower skilled, lower paid workers into the United States. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of factors that have led to this problem not fully being resolved. And you're right. Trump came in and he set some policies up that were actually working, stemming the flow. But once those players were out of the White House, you saw the number just absolutely drastically increase. We're talking millions of people who've come across the border just in the past 2 years. Got to take a break. It is Springfield's Morning News. We'll talk more about federal spending and in particular how much money is going to Ukraine and Vladimir Zelensky yesterday speaking to Congress. We'll get to that next on WMAY. Let's take a look at Springfield's dependable 5-day forecast, where it's going to be an interesting ride as we have a winter storm coming, and that forecast has temperatures plummeting throughout the day. Right now 34 degrees, but down to 1 degree by 5 p.m. That's after some snow starts about 3 o'clock. And then we're going to see up to 2 to 4 inches with winds up to 37 miles an hour. Overnight, the wind chill is going to plummet down to minus 34 at times with 34, 45 mile an hour winds. And then for tomorrow, we've got a chance of flurries before noon, and that's after all the blowing snow overnight with wind gusts up to 43 miles an hour Friday. Saturday, patchy blowing snow with the high of 11. And then for Christmas Eve, mostly clear overnight with a low of 0. And then Christmas Day, sunny with a high of 14. But again, right now, 34 degrees and the temperature is going to plummet. Right now, it's 6:50 from Culver's West on Wabash.
It's time to apply at Culver's West on Wabash. We're hiring all positions. And did we mention free food? Only at Culver's West on Wabash.
Well, Christmas is only a couple of weeks away, and the big old GOB sale at A.B. Lauer Jewelers is going crazy. Lots of great jewelry on sale at crazy prices, up to 80% off. Nothing's being held back. We're now open Mondays 11 to 6, so our hours are 11 to 6 Monday through Saturday. Don't wait any longer. We'll be closed forever after the holidays. A.B. Lauer Jewelers in the beautiful Montvale Junction Shopping Center on West Isles.
Anxiety. There's plenty of it to go around for just about everyone these days, but the question is, how are you dealing with it? Anxiety can make things difficult. If you find yourself reaching for drugs or alcohol as the solution, chances are your anxiety has gotten out of control. It's time to pick up the phone and call Gateway Foundation. You'll talk with someone who holds the strictest confidentiality so that you can open up and learn about treatment options. Our team of professional counselors, therapists, psychiatrists, and physicians have a long history of helping people like you get back on track. During the healing process, you'll find that there is nothing to be ashamed of. Calling Gateway Foundation is that important first step towards getting away from the self-medication of alcohol and other substances and on the road towards safe, rewarding, and sustainable recovery. Call Gateway Foundation at 877-505-HOPE for a free, private, confidential screening. Gateway Foundation, addiction medicine saving lives.
What's the best thing to do with your money during uncertain times? Financial experts agree products like certificates of deposit and money market accounts can be a safe haven from a bumpy economy. At Warren Boynton State Bank, we've been helping people find ways for their money to make money for 145 years. Certificates of deposit, or CDs, give you a guaranteed return on your money. Money market accounts are a way to let your money earn higher interest with the flexibility of a checking account. These are just two options we have at Warren Boynton, each designed to give your money security, and they just might help you sleep better at night. At Warren Boynton, you can say we've seen a few things over the years. A lot has happened since we opened our doors in 1877, but no matter what was going on in the rest of the world, we've stood by folks in Central Illinois. A little extra confidence during challenging economic times. Warren Boynton State Bank, WBSB.net, member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Warren Boynton, your bank.
Hey, John, when you think of the word supply chain, what's your next impulse?
No, turn off the news, run for cover, start whimpering.
Yeah, well, a customer of Dick Van Dyke Appliance World wrote in that they visited the store wanting to buy a microwave.
Something that used to be so simple.
Oh, right. You know what they walked out with?
Let me guess. A microwave.
Exactly. Dick Van Dyke had what they needed in stock, and the customer also remarked as to how helpful the salespeople were, too. Supply chain problems are still a thing, but this customer got the help they needed, and they wrote in to thank us.
You know, a little less whimpering in today's world can't be a bad thing.
This is Dennis Reekin, chairman of Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. Supply chain issues are minimized when you have multiple locations and people who know how to help you with your next purchase. All we do is appliances, and we do them better than anyone else. Wow!
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
Babbel's interactive lessons are created by real language teachers and voiced by real native speakers using a modern conversation-based method. So in no time, you can start speaking confidently about real-life topics in another language.
Nosotras vamos a México en 2 días y ahora hablamos español. Gracias, Babbel. Sí, muchas gracias.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Listen and watch the interviews with today's newsmakers on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe now. Springfield's Morning News with Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY.
All right, we're back and got a few things we got to get here before the top of the hour about Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, speaking in front of Congress. And he put together a nice promotional video for it on his Twitter page, and you can go check this out for yourself. And ultimately, it's a pretty high-profile little production here. He said on Twitter, "I thank POTUS for the warm welcome and deeply appreciate all the support from the U.S. and the American people. I'm confident that together we can be able to secure a better, prosperous, and free future for both our nations. Ukraine's victory will also be America's victory." This, again, is a video from the Ukrainian president on Twitter, where he showed up to the White House in a sweatshirt and looks like, olive green pants, taking pictures and whatnot. And the videos continued with them in the Oval Office sharing some smiles and some nice holiday cheer. But then you get to this video that the White House shared of President Biden and Volodymyr Zelensky walking in slow motion, and that tactic's an interesting tactic to use on an official channel, because some could say that's a tactic of propaganda to enhance a video like that. So that video's on the White House's official page, saying that we're proud to stand with them. But Volodymyr Zelensky addressed Congress and told Congress that listen, there's a lot of work that they've got to do, and the American public's tax money is integral to that. Here's some of what Volodymyr Zelensky had to say yesterday in front of Congress.
Financial assistance is also critically important, and I would like to thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for both financial packages you have already provided us with and the ones you may be willing to decide on. Your money is not charity. It's an investment in the global security and democracy that we handle in the most responsible way.
So Zelensky saying that it's not charity, getting applause for that, and moving on. He talked about the importance of this, especially when it comes to what we've already seen Iran do. Here is Zelensky addressing Congress again yesterday, talking about that particular aspect.
When Russia cannot reach our cities, but its artillery, it tries to destroy them with missile attacks. More than that, Russia found an ally in this genocidal policy, Iran. Iranian deadly drones sent to Russia in hundreds became a threat to our critical infrastructure. That is how one terrorist has found the other. It is just a matter of time when they will strike against your other allies. If we do not stop them now, we must do it.
Fascinating. And then he unveiled a Ukrainian flag and gave that to members of Congress. Look at that.
From the Fly SPI studios, take the easy way out. WMAY FM, Taylorville, Springfield's News and Talk is 92.7 WMAY.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Justin Fitch. The January 6th committee is set to release its final report today. It recommends criminally charging former President Trump with obstruction, conspiracy, and inciting the attack on the Capitol.
The 800-page document will name former President